Well, howdy, howdy. All right.
Woo,
You know what? That was a fake first start. We're going to start again. Welcome to Reorganizing Settings. I'm Rachel Foles.
And I'm Maddie Riemann, and we are excited to bring to you today the Cerkl U webinar series. As always, if you have any questions, please enter them in the questions pane on the right-hand side of your screen. This webinar will be recorded, so don't worry if you want to share with some of your colleagues. We will be sending that out after the webinar. All right, if you have any technical difficulties, feel free to jot this number down. We also have team members standing by to kind of help you out and answer any questions. If you can't hear audio or can't send any questions through, we're always here on the side to help out.
Obviously, as one of those just came through for us.
Right, thanks team. And then last but not least, keep the conversation going. You can always reach us through the chat bot, through our normal means, but then also on social media. We'd love to hear your feedback. And again, we're excited to share what we have been working really hard on, and I think you guys are going to like it. So again, we have just a little bio quickly of the two of us. My name is Maddie Riemann. I'm the Director of Customer Success. And you've seen me here as one of the hosts on the Cerkl U series. And then one of my favorite Cerkl people, we have Rachel Foles here.
Hi guys, I'm the Director of Products, so I'd be the person that helps take your ideas, your suggestions, and get them made and make them beautiful and make them functional for you. So that's my role here, so I'm so excited to share what we've been working on.
Alrighty. So just another recap, as we have been going through the Cerkl series this recent season, we've been discussing our product roadmap. And in the past few webinars, we've covered the content creators. We've updated that recently. We've updated Audience Manager. Right now, we're going to be showing you the updated version of settings. And then Rachel, I don't know if you want to go quickly into just a few of the upcoming product releases that we have.
And then after settings is really a start point for us redoing the site navigation, making that a lot easier for you to find what you're looking for, looking at the ways that you're using things and making those one click away. After that, we'll be redoing dedicated email. For those of you that are here today, you get a little sneak preview. That will be called Blast, and we'll be working on that in the coming months. You guys are going to love it. What we have planned is beautiful. And then after that, a completely new product for Cerkl called User Dashboard, which will kind of be your front door to Cerkl to help you with best practices and increasing the engagement. That will all be tied to your organizational goals with actionable items and information.
It's going to be fun. All right. So last but not least, let's go ahead and dive in. I know you're going to miss our beautiful faces, but we're going to take ourselves off screen so we can really focus in on the product itself and the updates that we have for you. All right. So first and foremost,
let's exit out of here and we'll head on over to settings.
Perfect. Thank you, Rach.
You're welcome.
So as you guys can see, some of this information is going to be readily available for you guys as in your current settings, but this is a staging site where we have been able to internally test and work on some of these updates to tweak and perfect it for you guys. We're hoping, and Rachel, I know since you lead the product team, you might be able to give us a little bit more detail as to when this is going to be rolling out for our customers.
Yeah, so our development team is currently working on refining the experience with what we've made, and it's looking like sometime perhaps next week, maybe the week after that, but definitely within February.
Perfect. All right. So as you guys are familiar, within the drop-down menu, you have your settings. So let's go ahead and hop through and show you some of the new updates that you'll notice. So right off the bat, you have your organization info, which is typically, the information that they're already including in their Cerkl account under settings. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. The thought behind organizational info, bringing it all together like this, is that when you have an organizational change, like say you are changing your branding, or you have a new location or new headquarters, or you're changing your URL, or a new mission, vision, values, we want to give you one place where you come to change all those things so that you can kind of brand wash the entire experience and get that all right in one place.
Absolutely. So again, just a quick overview of the organization settings or the organization info. You have your basic information like you guys have today, your email identity. We've simplified this, I think, in the current view that you guys have. It's a little wordy, so we wanted to make this as easy as possible and make it really digestible when you guys are in there and kind of tweaking some of these settings.
And then if your reply to email address has not been confirmed yet, that will be in a state to let you know that you still have something to do there.
Good to know. So I just want to see what that would look like. So if it's not the...
Yeah, and go ahead and click save.
Oh, awesome.
And then you see there, it highlights it orange, so you know there's an
Nice.
action that needs to be taken.
Okay, so it's very visible and easy for us to kind of see what we need to do next to complete that action.
Right, and that does trigger a confirmation email right to your box to let you know that this will be the send or the reply to email address.
Awesome, very easy. Okay, so let's hop down to team members. So team members, I know is a big role in what we really do, is being able to share the functionality with your team, whether it be internal or being able to share it with some other departments. So give us a little background on how this piece was built and some of the different features that we might notice here.
Yeah, so I think one of the goals of our designer was to figure out a way to visualize what the permissions are of any given team member and to be able to have granular permissions for each. So when you want to invite a new team member, you can invite them here, and then you're explained what permissions are you giving this person. Do they need to be an owner, an editor? And some of that information was a little bit more buried in the help desk, which is incredibly helpful. But when you're making these choices, we want to give you the information you need to make these choices on the fly, once again, to save you time. Here you can see that they're in a pending state. You'll see that pending state orange throughout. That lets you know they haven't, accepted the invitation yet, and you can go ahead and resend those invites.
Oh, gotcha. That's awesome.
And so when we're looking at team members here, you can see, for our managers who are saying, well, how often is this person active in Cerkl? We can see their last login, how many posts they've published, and also be able to toggle on and off what permissions they have.
Perfect. I love that. It's a great visual representation to know who might still need to take action, or hey, some of these are still pending, or it's successfully sitting in their inbox. They just need to go look for it. So
right.
That's very helpful.
And for my visual, I'd love to see that, if Sam has published 100 posts, I'm going to want to give him a high five. He is on the ball.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sam, you need to start posting some more, buddy. All right, so branding. So I know this was a big feat. This was internally, we had quite a few debates on this. So I'm excited to roll some of these new features and functionality out to our users. So what do we have here?
So let's start with the brand identity, and that's seen in your content archive and a couple of other different places. Here you're able to choose an image. What I like and what's new, if you want to go ahead and try to choose an image, that would be fine. You'll be able, oh, there she is, profile image.
What do you know?
There you go.
It's like we had this plan.
I know. That little slider that popped up there below Maddie allows you to scale, to zoom in and zoom out, so you can see exactly awesome. What you're bringing to the front, which I really, really like.
Yeah.
We brought some of the image size restraints right to the top there so that when you're making those decisions, once again, the information you need is right there, which is exciting. Now, what I'm excited about, because I'm a branding person,
let me guess. The favicon.
It is a favicon. Now, some people call it a favicon. I learned by reading, so I call it a favicon. And what a favicon is that little bitty picture up in your browser tab. You see it there where Maddie's circling. That's that little bitty picture that lets you know where you are on the internet. One of the things that we're working on with Cerkl is making this a lot less about us and a lot more about you. You'll see those changes in our story pages and our events where we've removed most of the Cerkl branding, we replaced it with yours. This is another step in that process so that you can have ownership of your content.
Yeah, this is great. And I know a couple of our partners in the past have had us do some, assessments or readability assessments specifically for higher education. I know that's one recently we've submitted. So I think this readability and being able to check the button color and the text hyperlinking, I think it's great. I know that's also a new feature that we have recently included.
Yeah, I think more and more people are looking for that ADA compliance when it comes to their text colors, so this can really help. This is your color picker. You have a primary color now. For those of you who have a primary and secondary, we will continue to honor that. But going forward, it will be mostly a primary color operation. So you want to pick a strong color. This is used in your buttons and your links.
Awesome. It's beautiful. All right.
So not much has changed as far as the size or presentation, but really it's how you're browsing it in to your newsletter header image. And you're able to send a sample right there from what you're doing, which is fun. I'll take one. Let's do it.
Perfect. So now you can see in your inbox what that newsletter looks like.
Right.
That's great. I know we get a lot of questions about that. Hey, what is this? I changed the branding image. I want to see it. I don't want to wait until next week's newsletter to come.
I completely agree with you, and I'm controlling just the same way. So I love that we're having that for them right there. Same thing with your welcome email. You're able to do that here. And then we added something, a little sprinkle of something new over in Audience Manager, which we'll show you regarding welcome emails. Your content archive, this is on your Cerkl content archive. You're able to see there what it looks like on the content archive when you add an image. Isn't that colorful and fun?
Yeah, I think this is great. I like that we can now just quickly see it, and it's very easy to access, because I get a lot of questions from our clients when we're walking through the onboarding or the launch processes. Hey, where does this live? So
right.
It's a great visual representation of where this lives and where your users can access it.
Yes.
Okay.
Scrolling down, we've done a lot with image placeholders to help you like turn them on and turn them off. So they're still the same image placeholders that you know and love, but this is where you're going to browse them in. So we can go ahead and browse one in here so we can demonstrate, how easy it is. I think you look for image placeholder 2 there, upper left, right-hand corner. Stage right.
Stage right. Don't worry, I'm not good with lefts and rights. Anyway.
And there we are, and you can turn that, toggle it on and off or delete it right there.
Awesome.
How many image placeholders would you say is a good number for people to have?
It's a good question. I typically like to suggest upwards of 5, keeping in mind, the more, or having more is a lot better than having less in this case, because what's going to happen is if a piece of content is coming through to your queue or is automatically being approved from your blog or some outside source that does not have an image already included, then we're just going to shuffle these images. So keeping in mind, you want to have as many possible. And I always suggest keeping these images pretty generic. I've seen a lot of organizations use different variations of their logo. So just different color backgrounds or something of that sort. So, or if you have, a beautiful location or office, taking some generic photos like that is always a great way to go.
I think it's great advice.
Okay, so now, all the branding beauties.
Yeah, then we pulled it out, social links here. And as you want to add them, what you do is you just click one, and let's add an Instagram, and then there you go. Now, what you can do here with that button in the upper right-hand corner of Twitter, let's say, is that you can check that link and make sure that that is the right link.
Make sure it's not broken.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good best practice is you're adding them. Sometimes you get them in a spreadsheet or you're just in some sort of copy and paste frenzy, and it's good to check and make sure that they work. I don't think that we added any new ones here, but I think I like the way that it's lined out. Very simple, very colorful.
Absolutely. Very easy to add. Okay, email newsletter. So I know this is a big one because when we're walking through the onboarding and the launch process, we get lots of questions. All right, so when are we going to send this? If our subscribers don't choose their own delivery daytime frequency, when do they get it?
Right.
So this is going to be the email newsletter in default frequency, daytime format. So all those settings all in one place now. So it makes it much easier, right?
Yes. And I agree. We really, really, really thought about this page and what are you trying to do and what's the thing that you're going to access the most frequently. What is your goal when you visit this page?
Absolutely. So same functions that you have today, changing the delivery frequency, day, time. Typically, we don't see too much of variation. Once this is set, we usually see that our organizations are keeping that same consistent delivery. But as we move down, you will notice some of the other miscellaneous sending controls that we used to kind of just like bundle together in, it was, more settings.
Yeah, other settings.
Other settings. So that was my favorite when I'd be on the phone, be like, go to other settings, and then the other settings. So this is just a great place to have all these things in one place where these functions are going to be affecting your email newsletter at the base level. And again, all of these things really shouldn't need to be touched too much. So that's why we set them aside, correct?
Yeah, and I think that, this is a natural place that if you need to make changes here, you know exactly where to go, and that's what we're looking for. You may not need it, but maybe every couple of months, but you should know where it should be.
Absolutely.
And those are our goals. Let's go through some of these miscellaneous sending controls. Fallback subject line, now that's something for the non-personalized subscribers, right?
Absolutely. So, and that is a title change from before. We just had the default subject line, which I think was a little confusing to some of our partners. So changing that to say, hey, it's not going to be the default subject line. Not every person's going to receive the subject line. But if they have not personalized or we're not sure who they are or what they're interested in, then they would receive this variation at some point.
And then auto adjusting your frequency to help people who aren't engaging as much maybe drop down a little bit so you don't lose them, because once you lose that email address, it's a painful loss. So we want to adjust that over time, and you can toggle that on and off anytime you want to.
Absolutely. And we always suggest keeping that on. Again, that functionality helps save those unsubscribes. All right, display percent match and trending. So this is one of those features that is really awesome. I love it. It's that Netflix-like feature where, you know, you get done watching the Goonies and then all of a sudden it's Stranger Things and it's like 98% match, and you know you have to watch it.
And then 2 weeks of your life is gone.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
Totally worth it.
So with display percent match and trending, one thing that we've discussed internally is the best practice here is to turn this off at the very beginning, which is typically something that, you know, I'd be working with you on during the launch process. But then it's always good to turn this back on after a few weeks or a few months of really understanding who your audience is. The system then can say, hey, you know, we really know who you are. This is the percent match. This is what's really trending. So I know internally we also had some additional talks about even updating this a little bit further. So yeah, it's exciting to see, you know, the progression of some of these feature requests that we've heard from clients over time.
This one I'm really excited about, and it's a little thing and it's a small thing, but I love the access to the skip national holidays and the ability to say, what do we count as national holidays? Just open up this Chevron menu right here, and then here are our national holidays. And if you have this feature turned on, we're automatically going to skip them. We know that engagement is lower on national holidays. You know your audience better than anyone, but I keep this on. I'm a big fan of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And let's talk about the minimum content required to send here. Now, I like this a little further up myself.
Yeah. I typically suggest anywhere between 2 to 3. Some organizations, they like to keep it kind of low. What this feature is doing for you is ensuring that a newsletter is not delivered to your audience if it's not, you know, full with enough content. So you can, on this toggle, go ahead and decide what is your threshold of anything above this, it can send a newsletter. So again, I always suggest anywhere between 2 or 3 just to make sure that there are some significant articles or, you know, content within that delivery send to your subscriber.
Perfect. And then adding promotions. I don't think we added anything to this. I think we just kind of reimagined the function of it. You had the ability to add, let's call them promotional banners, to the top, middle, and bottom of your newsletter. Here I have one at the top of my newsletter. Here's the promotion link. Now, people love to track their links, and I'm here for it. Those are happening outside of Cerkl. Mm-hmm. So one thing you can do is use UTM parameters through your Google Analytics, tag that on the end of there, and then you'll be able to track which campaigns do the best.
Absolutely.
And if you need any help with that, I'd be happy to write a help desk article about that.
What? I greatly appreciate that.
Google Analytics certified. Let's go.
I used to be. It's been a couple years.
So we're going to add a new one. How about follow us on Twitter? Once again, the same little scrolly bar of this guide to help me decide how zoomed in do I want to go. I'm going to zoom it out because I made this one perfect for us. I submit it. It says cool, and then I'm able to add my link here, and that will be to the Twitter. And I decide the position as well.
Awesome.
Now, something that's always kind of floating up here at the top that I think is key is the send sample. So at any time I can send myself, and I'm the person who's logged in, a sample of the newsletter.
Yeah, so, and that's also recreating that functionality from under the branding too. So I always like when you can do things in more than one place. It makes it much easier and, you know, accessible to the users.
So this is a good thing to note because here you need to save your changes, and that save button is up in the upper right hand corner. If I try to navigate away, it's going to ask me, are you sure? So just make sure that you're saving as you're leaving.
Am I sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Just wanted to check.
All right. So after the email newsletter, we have the integrations and plugins. So this is a new redesigned page where we're able to really just give you the functionality that you currently have today, where you can include the token for your Eventbrite opt-in monster, but you can also access our Cerkl API. You can generate these APIs. I'll just quickly hop in. We can show you how you can generate the API. I want to allow, let me say test, and then you can generate the key. This would only be needed if you are interested in integrating your third-party CRM or your system of record to Cerkl. So more than happy to answer questions offline too if we have anything specific on that.
And then here we also have Apply, which is our web personalization. This has a slightly different look now, but you're able to add Apply web personalization. No matter what container you put that in, by that I mean a sidebar or a footer, this Apply is going to fit to fill and be ready for you. So you can add that website personalization to your intranet or your website in just a few seconds. We have a million help desk articles written about that. I'm sure that we'd be happy to help you. And then the subscriber plugin, just a new way of imagining how to build one. And you can do all of that here, make it exactly like you want it to.
Yeah, sign in, make it look beautiful. And then up in the top right, you'll see the get code button, which will allow you to grab that code.
There it is.
And then send that over to your webmaster or anyone who has access to the back end of your site to place that on the pages that you've decided upon.
Yep.
Okay. So last but not least in the settings portion, and then we'll kind of hop over to Audience Manager and Content Manager where we've broken out a couple other of the functions, but we have account and billing. So we really wanted a one-stop shop for all of your information. We get lots of questions through our little chat bot, like, hey, when's our subscription up? Or, hey, can you share this or that information with us? So we have that now readily available for you to access at the tip of your fingers.
And I get it. I think that this is really a great moment for you to be able to see, okay, this is how long our term is, when you need to reach out, who the admin is. Admins leave. And so who is the person that we're going to contact to make sure we don't miss you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a big one for me.
I bet.
I love being able to access you guys. All right. So other than the organizational settings, we do have a couple other places in which we've broken out some of those additional features and functionality that you guys are used to. So number one is going to be an audience manager. So once you'll notice in Audience Manager, we have segments. Segments used to be bundled under the organizational settings, under a couple other tabs, but here we really wanted to keep this in a place where you're really thinking about it holistically. When you think about segments, you're thinking about your audience. You're managing your audience, right?
So that was the goal.
Perfect. What else can you say? Anything different here that we need to know?
Yeah, just to your point, I think that we, once again, are trying to put the actions where you're trying to take them. So when you figure out that you need a new segment or you need to delete an old one, I feel like that should happen in Audience Manager. So you can create a new segment here, or you can edit them and change them out, and everybody's good to go. And then there's another, do you want to show them our new send personalization fun thing?
Oh, absolutely.
On subscribers?
So as you guys remember in the current UI that you have access to, you're used to being able to resend a welcome email to one specific person. So when we really broke that down, what we decided is typically you're searching for a specific person. You're trying to see if they even are a subscriber first before you're trying to resend them, or they walk into your office and you want to know, have they personalized, have they not? So with this functionality, now you can easily search. Let's say I want to look up Sam at Cerkl.com. I can find Sam, and right next to Sam's account information, you'll notice this date personalized. If it does not have a date, it'll have this little icon where you can resend that welcome email to one specific person.
Which I think is great for exactly what you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
And then we added content controls here. And content controls are where you're going to be able to resend that welcome email to everyone who hasn't subscribed. So if it's not just the one person and you're on it every 6 months, I'm ready to resend that welcome email. Here's where you do it right there at the top.
Yeah. And as a best practice, I'll just chime in real quick and mention that as a best practice, it's always good to resend this welcome email, once a quarter to really try to boost that percentage personalized. Okay.
And then if you have a private Cerkl or you're an internal communicator, you can turn off allowing unsubscribe.
Mm-hmm.
And then GDPR compliance also comes into play whenever you are the owner of the email addresses that you're talking to.
Absolutely. And I know we have some help articles here. What is GDPR and those GDPR settings, so you can see and have access to all of that. I know that's a big thing with internal communications and security with the EU data regulation policies. Yep. So
we're here for you for that.
Absolutely. Okay.
And then last
but not least, we have Content Manager. So under Content Manager, again, trying to really focus in on the way in which you're thinking about the functions of the platform as you're working through it. So Within Content Manager, you have your normal approved queue, drafts, content archive, but then content sources. This was originally broken out, and I've been begging for this to be in here for months, and I'm so excited. I don't know
how dreams come true.
I know, right? I don't think anyone's as excited as I am, but this really makes it so much easier to explain the functionality, right? So you add a content source, one of those external sources where you want to pull in the blog content, or let's say videos from your YouTube channel. Pull that in there, you just hit submit, and then voila, all you have to do is wait for that content to appear in your queue if you decided for that to be on moderation. If not, then you can automatically approve it. And again, all those functions are still available to
Right.
you.
So if you are just putting it in, you're good, you're going to let it go, but you can actually decide how you want to treat each content source individually. And that's done here. You can include categories automatically to those items coming in on a feed, or you can exclude ones and say, I never want to hear about this.
Right.
So it gives you a lot of control to kind of cut down on the time spent approving content.
One other thing I will mention, I know having calls with some of our partners, one thing that they're not aware of is that they can set the content expiration date at the content source level, which is really important. It gives you, again, the flexibility to say, hey, I want to pull in our athletics feed, but they're publishing, hundreds of pieces of content or posts or stories per month on all the various sports teams. And at the end of the day, the soccer team winning the state championship, it's great, but it's not going to be relevant necessarily 3 months later. So you now have the access, or you have had the access, but I just want to highlight it. You have the access to change the content expiration date for this specific feed to say, hey, this is only going to be all the content coming through from this specific source is only going to be relevant for 10, 15, or maybe it's evergreen. Maybe this specific content source is always relevant to your audience. So you can set those here. Alrighty. And then last but not least, we have our content controls. Again, really coupling all the ways in which you are going to be setting your account to deal with content in the way in which you approve the content, and that's delivered to your audience. So you have, of course, your organizational categories, and then some of these other inputs that you would have noticed in your current settings. So would you like to show authors? So if you have any team members that you've decided can be an author, then you can turn this on. This will allow attribution for that specific author whenever they publish any post, which is a great way to really begin to expand the way in which your audience is seeing your organization. I see a lot of our partners really diving into this and building their own brands within the organization. Gives depth, it gives understanding to who these people are.
And also ownership.
Yes.
And I think that's really key. Your authors have more skin in the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then we can also choose whether or not new team members will be moderated by default. And then here you can auto-generate the categories. I think what you'll see from us in the next year or so is a stronger auto-generate categories from us as we work through some of the ML.
I like that, Miss Product. I like that. All right, and then last but not least, we have the default expiration days. So as we mentioned with the content sources, we can set those at the content source level or the RSS feed level. This is going to be your overall expiration date. So whenever content's automatically coming into your queue from, whether someone's posting it or from a separate content source, it's going to automatically be set to expire based on your organizational default.
Right, and also any content published within Cerkl. And then
Absolutely.
if you make no choices regarding it when you bring in a feed, it will set to this as well. So this is kind of if nothing else is there, this is what we're going to fall back on.
Right, and just to kind of quickly touch on, I know with your marketing background and content generation background, explain the evergreen, because I get this quite a bit, and no one says it more beautifully than you. I'm hyping you up right now.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to be that great, but I think evergreen content is content that should be fishing for you at all time. It's something that you write that you don't need to rewrite. It was written the right way the first time, and you know that this information will be valuable to people for a period that you can't define beyond 1 year. So a good example of that would be maybe onboarding information for a new employee. Well, that's good for new employees in that segment forever, because the information basically hasn't changed, or when you want to change it, you're just going to update a few things,
right?
And then that can go back out and keep fishing.
exactly. That's a great example. I appreciate that. All right. Well, really, I know that at the end of this webinar, really what we're able to do is show you high level where we're going to be taking things within the next few weeks and allow you to see what's coming your way here shortly. So we are going to open up for questions. I know we've already hit our timeline. I know we kind of had things slotted for about 30 minutes today. So let's see if we can answer at least 1 or 2 questions. And then if not, we don't get to the questions, I will absolutely connect with you guys offline and get those to you individually. Okay. So let's see. We've got a couple.
Well, we had a can't hear you. I think we got that now.
Yeah, I think that was from the beginning. All right. And then let's see. One question, I think we'll take one real quick before we hop off and we send the recording to you this afternoon, is about the content, the categories themselves. So if we want to, someone asked about the best practices there. Is it a best practice to change those categories, and what does that look like? And I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I always suggest taking a look at your insights within your account to see how are the categories performing and what might people be engaging with or not engaging with. And then these category opportunities are a great way to go.
I love them so much. I think that when you initially create your organizational categories, they should reflect what you know that you're writing based on what you're tagging or categorizing on your website, intranet, whatever. That's cool. But then I always like to leave 25% to make room for what naturally rises to the top as like organizational preferences regarding what the people are actually reading.
Yep.
And those should be a moving, massaging thing, because you would hope as you learn what people enjoy that you would shift your content strategy to reflect it. So I like to imagine that it's just ever changing, ever reshaping, but it's always a circle.
Absolutely. I agree. It's a great answer. I don't have anything to add. That's
Okay.
perfect. Good. All right. Well,
we want to team.
Exactly. I want to thank you guys again for your time today. We're really excited to show you the settings reimagined, and we are going to be rolling that out to you in the next few weeks. So keep an eye on any updates that we have for you, and we will be sure to also send over the recording of this webinar. Anything else?
Yeah, if you have any questions, just let us know.
Always here. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.